Jose, can you see? This crispy label right here, buddy. This is what it should look like. See that Groove Tubes relabeled Sovtech. Should be a bright and vivid color, that silk screening, but take a peek at this one. It's warming up on my tube tester, which we have set up. We're looking to find out what happened. Was it a short that killed it, or did it just die? Let's find out. This particular tube tester is calibrated. What does that mean? That means I can trust what it's going to tell me. A lot of guys will just take a picture of all their gear and say, hey, look, I got a tube tester, I must be legit, but that's not the case. And I'm not, this is not bragging, I'm just saying, you know, caveat emptor, as they say. Let the buyer beware that if your tech is going to proclaim the use of a tube tester, which in all honesty, the best tube tester is the circuit the thing was designed to go in. If they're going to say that as part of a cell, then make sure it was calibrated, do a little research, find out what it's going to actually tell. This is basically a pass or fail type of a tester, but it's got one hell of a sensitive leakage test down to like 10 mega ohms. Crazy. Awesome emission test. Awesome grid leakage test. It's just a perfect little compact tester. And let's just be honest here. The Syncor stuff is just sexy. I think it's sensual. You're looking at the old 50s stuff here. Let's zoom on over. I love their stuff. And that's just the way it is. I like the way they marketed themselves and the whole thing. But anyway, back to the topic at hand. This is your tube that had failed on your 1964 Fender Vibroverb, I should say, reissue. Have I had coffee today? No. Is that why? No, it's because I have a speech impediment. So we are indeed set up. Let's rotate this and see if there are any shorts. If this illuminates when set on a position, not in between a position, if this stays lit, this short's light, then we know there's a short. That doesn't count. That's it. You don't have a short, but let's check out the emission testing. What the emission test is going to do is it's going to tell us how much electron emitting material is left on that cathode. So what we're going to do is we're going to observe the upper band of this scale here on the meter face, where it says emission, as it turns out, as it were. So we want this thing to literally bounce off the pin here and then come back and settle somewhere around 100. That's what we want. If it hangs out in the red or questionable area, then we'll throw that sucker away. So let's switch on over and observe. Go back to a short function. Boop. There, okay. Cathode's roasted. Now, let's take a peek at the grid leakage. The grid leak test is basically going to tell us how much of that electron emitting material has made its way from the cathode over to the grid. The grid then becomes conductive itself. So let's move her on over and observing the lower band of the graphics here on this meter face. We want her to hang around in the green zone. If she goes over about midway, and then out east here, over on the east coast, as the crow flies, then we know she's bad. Oh my God. Easy, baby. Easy. What are we doing here? Back to emissions. Back to grid leak. She's just Not doing so well, is she? There's an additional function on this particular meter called life test, if you could read that. And what it's going to do is it's going to starve some of the filament voltage or heater voltage, depending on how your tube is constructed, and see if there's enough horsepower left in this tube to keep the conduction up. So let's move on over to emission. And just not a happy camper here. So let me move over to grid leakage. This tube is foobar. Let's say, for the sake of argument, actually we're not going to argue. I'm going to demonstrate this. I'll power down. So, and I'll move the meter zero up a bit. Let me move her, say, right here. Let's move her to the question mark. So, when I'm performing the life test, and this is spring loaded, as I depress this, the filament voltage will be reduced, starving the tube just a bit. And if there's deflection downward while depressed, if you see that the needle moving towards the west on the left-hand side here, then you know this tube doesn't have much longer. So this is not a Nostradamus machine. You use the data here unless it's just straight up fail like we're seeing here. You'll use this and you'll add the data along with all the other data you collected when you're making an assessment. Then you'll let your customer know what's up. You guys make a decision together.